Before we get started, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of the content that is released by GoCollect. And if you're interested, head over to Reggie Collects here on YouTube. Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector and the host of the GoCollect speculation video, and I want to welcome you to another episode. Before we get going with the blog post that we are going to talk about in this video, I want to make you aware of something. I want to make you aware of a giveaway that GoCollect sponsors every single week. To get involved in this giveaway, all you have to do is to actually post up something on either Facebook or Instagram, be following GoCollect, tag GoCollect in the post that you put up. And the post should basically be something of a comic or something like that that is from your collection. And the hashtag that you use is Friday Feature. You put that up, GoCollect is going to repost it on whichever platform you happen to be following them on and put up your post, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, and then you're basically in the running for the giveaway. And they are giving away, I can tell you, some pretty awesome books. Now with that said, I definitely want to encourage you, if you haven't yet checked out my channel, to do that as well, because I also give away some pretty awesome books. If you are indeed selected as the winner, I will be mentioning you in the next episode of the speculation video. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into these blog posts. Now, this first blog post that we're going to talk about, I think, is an awesome one. And it's awesome because it is all about sibling rivalry and conflict. And the blogger takes a look at a really awesome book that is very much rooted in sibling rivalry. And I get a kick out of this because I have several siblings and I honestly get along with them pretty well. But when I was younger, I definitely terrorized them. And so this blog post actually struck a little bit of a chord with me. The blogger spends some time talking about and examining a really awesome book, that being X-Men issue number 12. And this is the first appearance of the Juggernaut, which, as you all know, is the half-brother of Professor X. And in the post, the blogger does a really good job of kind of examining the values associated with this particular book and highlights the fact that this book is pretty similar in price to the first appearance of the Black Panther, which was a little shocking to him and might also be a little shocking to you. But I will tell you that this book is an awesome book to add to your collection. If you are an X-Men fan or a Juggernaut fan, you definitely want to check this one out. The blog post, I think, is well written, has some fantastic data points that you want to check out. To that point, this blog post is linked down in the description. If you have spent any time on the GoCollect website, you may have taken a look at the hot list, if you will, for Silver Age books. They actually put up a couple of lists, and one of them is Silver Age, there's a Modern, there's a Bronze, etc., etc. But these hot lists that are posted to the GoCollect website essentially look at the popular books that are out there. And these lists are really based upon the volumes of books that are exchanging hands. So books that have high sales will actually rise on the list, and those that have very few sales actually will fall on the list. But what I can tell you is that even though few books or a lot of books change hands, that doesn't necessarily mean that those books are either expensive or inexpensive. And in fact, this next blogger does a really good job of looking at an awesome book that has essentially fallen from a really high place on the Silver Age list to a much, much lower place on that same list. But again, it's not about the sales volume, because when you actually look at the data, what you'll see is that this comic is performing incredibly well at just about every single grade. The book that I'm talking about is Silver Surfer issue number 4, and this is a fantastic comic featuring some awesome art from a fantastic artist, and it features two incredibly popular characters, that being Thor and also the Silver Surfer. The blogger makes a case here for why you may still want to look into picking up this book, partly because the Silver Surfer is a popular character that at some point may debut in the MCU.
He's here.
So if you believe that there is some magic here, you might want to check out this blog post. The link down in the description. I recently had an opportunity to interview the legendary Chris Claremont down at CGC's headquarters in Sarasota, Florida. So when I got to this next blog post, it definitely struck a chord with me because it talks about a book that Chris actually worked on in his 17-year run on working on X-Men related, mutant related projects. And the blogger actually does a really good job in this blog post for making an argument why the limited series that was written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Frank Miller, why this book has been on the back burner in many respects for a while, but is suddenly catching a little heat. And it's partly because there are so many, rumors and a lot of speculation that Wolverine will make an appearance in the MCU. And I will tell you, if you haven't read this series, you should read it because, in my opinion, this is one of the best Wolverine series that I have ever read. It is really, really fantastic, and the cover art is incredible. And again, you may want to check this blog post out because I believe that Wolverine is one of those characters that will remain popular forever. This is a really good series written by a really talented writer, drawn by a really talented artist. It's like the perfect storm. So check this one out, read it, and then evaluate for yourself whether you want to make the investment in picking up this limited series. So we as speculators, comic book collectors, fans of the MCU, I think, that's everybody. Why we spend a lot of time thinking about the MCU and who will be the next big bad, what will the next story be that they tell, which comic will be leveraged for the next streaming service. We spend a lot of time talking about that, mostly because it's fun to speculate on the future, because none of us are wrong, really, because we're kind of just making it up and having a lot of fun. But this next blogger actually makes an argument as to who or what might be the next team that we could see in the MCU and maybe even on the small screen. And it is a team, if you will, that goes back in time all the way to 1962. And I am talking about the Circus of Crime. And this team debuted in 1962, as I mentioned, in Incredible Hulk issue number 3. And this team has had a roster of people that have actually shown up over time. They've battled Captain America, the Defenders, Generation X, Power Pack, and even the Thunderbolts. I mean, this is a team, if you will, that has been around for quite some time and meandered, if you will, through Marvel. But the blogger makes an argument as to, again, why this team may be a team that could be seen at some point down the line. And it might be a long shot, but I have heard more far-fetched arguments before, to be honest with you. I mean, who saw Groot and Rocket Raccoon happening?
No! That's the button that will kill everyone!
Right? So if you want to check out this blog post, if you're a fan of like long shots and things like that, you want to check this blog post out because maybe there is something there for you. This next blog post provides you with a recommendation that I would not follow. The blogger makes a suggestion that you start a fight on social media. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that at all. But the blogger really does do a good job of talking about a controversial topic. And it is a topic of cameo appearance versus first appearance. And this is an age-old debate that I don't think will ever reach a conclusion anytime soon. But the blogger actually adds something to the argument, which I think is really wonderful on their part, to be honest with you. And what they kind of highlight is you can have the debate about one panel versus multiple panel, a shadow versus a full face. Throughout the book, they are named or not named, right? You can have that debate, but the blogger points out that one of the big differentiating factors as to the book that collectors actually want is whether or not the character in question is actually on the cover of the book. And over the course of this blog post, the blogger looks at several books that are debatable books, but highlights in almost every instance the book that has risen to the top is a book that actually features the main character or the debuting character on the cover of that comic. They specifically look at books like Incredible Hulk 180 versus 181. Again, the cameo appearance versus the full appearance of the very popular Wolverine. They look at X-Men Annual number 14 versus Uncanny X-Men 266, the appearance of Gambit. They look at Amazing Spider-Man 360 and Amazing Spider-Man 361, Amazing Spider-Man 298 versus ASM 300, which is the appearance of Venom. They go on to talk about New Mutants 86 and 87, as well as the appearance of Apocalypse. Now, while the blogger's theory holds true for every single book that I just mentioned, there is one exception that they identified. And I'm not going to tell you what that exception is, but I will encourage you to check out this blog post. It is well written and full of some really awesome facts. Check it out. The Bronze Age of comics was in many ways a fantastic age, and it essentially ran from about 1970 to about 1985. And during this time, there were some amazing comics that actually debuted. And the blogger, this next blogger that is, actually did a really awesome job of highlighting several books that came out during the Bronze Age that you may want to take a look at, because as these books continue to mature in age, they may also go up in value as well. And the blogger again highlights some really awesome books, many of which I actually own and you may want to own as well. The very first book that is mentioned is the Savage She-Hulk #1, which is the origin and first appearance of She-Hulk, the cousin of the Incredible Hulk. The next book, Eternals #1, which is the first appearance of the Eternals, who have a movie that will be debuting at some point when COVID-19 makes it possible for movies to be filmed and also released. Next on the list, Wolverine #1, a book that we have talked about in this episode already. This is actually the first solo title featuring Wolverine. And then the last book that I'm actually going to mention is actually the second on the list. I'm not going to tell you what the first is, but the second to last book that is on this list is Amazing Spider-Man 252, the first Black Spider-Man costume in regular series. This is a great story. It's also a great cover. I encourage you to check out this blog post. Again, like many of the blog posts we've talked about, this one is also well written and also has a really awesome list of books that you may want to consider picking up and adding to your collection. With that said, I am going to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, I want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment behind so we can mix it up in the comment section. But I also want to encourage you to tune in next week when we get to do this all over again.